So I've got one more tamarack here to plant and one more black spruce, and all the trees we brought back from our moose hunt in the north are in the ground. I'm going to insulate them with some straw, try to insulate the roots for the winter for their first year, and then hopefully they'll take off. This happens to be one of my favorite trees, and for two reasons. It's the only tree with needles that actually loses them in the fall, so it kind of looks like it's dying. But essentially it's just losing these needles. It'll grow new ones in the spring, and they're the most beautiful green you can imagine. So another reason I like it, it has absolutely no commercial value whatsoever. So people leave it alone. And imagine that in this modern world, having something in nature that we don't touch. Anyway, what we're trying to do here is be, I guess, good stewards to the land. It'd be nice to think that this property would always be in our family, but in modern times, that's not the case anymore. But yeah, we're doing something for the future, for the next owner, and we're replenishing all the trees that we took down for our cabin build. So we're going to get these two in the ground and get on to another project. Last one. As far as helping the biomass that absorbs the carbon in our world, it seems to be out of control. We didn't just, I guess, relocate these trees. These trees were harvested off a hydro right away, so they were slated for brush cutting. So they would have been eliminated. So basically, we're giving them a second chance in life. Right? That job's done. So we've been away for almost 3 weeks on our moose hunt, and while we were away, our potatoes hardened off, and we're going to put them in the root cellar today. We got a lot more harvesting to do. This crop was obviously really good. We got about approximately 7 bushel of potatoes, and for a fellow who comes from 100% Irish ancestors, it kind of warms the cockles of one's heart. Anyway, we still have the carrots to harvest, beets, rutabaga, probably 50 or 60 of them. The parsnips, our winter cabbage is looking absolutely amazing. But that's all another day. I'm going to get these in the root cellar today. And I'm using wire baskets, which certainly isn't 18th century, but we found they work really well. It allows air circulation around them. And by spreading them out, rather than putting them in a big bin, once a week or once every couple of weeks, we can sort of sort through them. If we're getting a rotten one, we pitch it out, so that old saying, one bad apple spoils the bushel. So we try to keep on top of that. Anyway, I'm going to get these in the root cellar here, and then I'm going to go back and start on my new outhouse for the cabin. So there's some of the tobacco for winter's use in the tavern. The tavern owner back in the 1700s provided tobacco for the patrons and also pipes. So yeah, I'm going to cure this, well, it's cured. What I'm going to do now, and I've never done it before, is figure out how they made twists. That's how tobacco was stored, that's how tobacco was sold in the 1700s. So yeah, got a little research to do, but I'm going to try to make some twists out of this stuff. That's solid. You can probably figure out what I'm working on here. So this is the beginnings of our new outhouse, the foundation at least. It's going to be a two-holder, and someone asked me why did they build two-holed outhouses, and basically it's because they had families with small kids, so they could bring more than one at a time to the bathroom. If they had to make that trek in the middle of the night, no doubt, given it was the 1700s, it would have been mom that did it, not dad. But anyway, just talk a bit about, a wee bit of history about hygiene in the 1700s. It was pretty much non-existent, at least on the frontier. And soap as we know it today, so hard soaps, like a bar of soap, to put it plainly, didn't exist until into the 1700s. And they would leach the lye out of white wood ash, and then they would add that to either tallow or lard, and they'd make a hard bar of soap. Problem was they had no control over how much lye would be leached out of the ash. So sometimes it would wash your skin pretty good. Sometimes it'd take the hide right off you. Anyway, on that hygiene thought, if you think about it, if they had windows in the cabin, they certainly didn't have screens. Outhouses and manure piles in the barnyard, they attracted flies. Flies carry bacteria. They had really strong immune systems. There's a fascinating book called Guns, Germs, and Steel. I can't remember the author right off the top of my head, but it's a fascinating look at how over thousands, a millennium in fact, diseases were able to transport from animals to humans. And if you think about maybe the Germans as an example, in Pennsylvania they settled and they brought with them their style of living in Europe was to have the barn attached to the house, perhaps with a small walkway. So they lived in very close proximity, and things like swine flu and colds evolved and eventually made their way into humans and what we have now with common colds and flus. Interesting though, if you look at native cultures in North America, the whole concept of containing an animal went against everything they believed in. So they practiced absolutely no husbandry. Some tribes kept dogs. Horses weren't certainly in this part of the world, in the woodland and native area. So they didn't have issues. They didn't have colds. They didn't have common flus until they were introduced to them by Europeans. Anyway, enough talking. I should get at some building. I've been asked a zillion times, where did they sleep in such a small cabin? And everybody goes, where's the bed? Where do you sleep? We have a small sleeping loft in the back end of this, which adults can sleep up there, but that'll be for the kids, grandkids, what have you. And they use sleeping pallets. They call them pallets, the term used. Basically, pillow ticking stuffed with straw or dried grass. And every month or so, if they had the resources, they'd clean that out and they'd stuff their mattress again. So, pretty much the standard way of sleeping in the 1700s, and in a lot of cases into the 1800s. So at nighttime, they get rolled out on the floor. As the kids grow out of the attic or the sleeping loft, they get a pallet. And it just keeps going. You push the tables and furniture out of the way, lay down as many pallets as are required. Everyone goes off to sleep. You roll up the pallets in the daytime, stuff them all up in the loft, move the table back in place, and your day goes on as normal. Anyway, I'm going to stuff this here pillow ticking, and I plan on sleeping on it tonight. All right, that's comfortable. That's going to work. Yes, sir. Sleep on that bad boy tonight.